Hey, what's up, guys? This is Clint McGill with Baseball Notes, and one of the most common questions I get from parents of all ages, but especially that 9, 10, 11-year-old age, is what do I do if my kid is afraid of getting hit by the pitch? And that's in baseball, softball. It can just completely ruin a player's self-esteem, their performance, just make an entire weekend, the entire season miserable, right? And the big question is, what do we do? Right? And so we try to talk them out of it. We say it's not going to hurt that bad. That doesn't seem to help. And a very common solution is to throw tennis balls at the players, right? And while that makes a lot of sense, it kind of teaches them to sort of roll in and sort of feel that sting. I have yet to see the tennis ball solution actually help. But there is good news, because there are actually some things that we can do to kind of help players control their mind and not let their worry about getting hit just dominate their performance. So the first thing we need a player to do is to, one, recognize that they're afraid of being hit by the pitch, easy enough, but two, make very sure that they aren't blaming, shaming, or justifying it, all right? Like, there's no problem on their part because they're afraid of getting hit by the pitch. Because if there was somebody in here throwing a baseball right now, I would prefer not to get hit by it, right? Like, not wanting to get hit is a total logical thing, and them being a little bit more afraid of it than somebody else is nothing to feel bad about or embarrassed about, right? And it's just like some kids catch a cold, some don't. Some kids, they're just struck with a little bit more fear, and some aren't, right? And if you have a kid that is up there a little bit nervous, hey, totally logical, happens to so many people. Don't feel bad about yourself or be angry at yourself that you're actually having to deal with this problem. So that's first, number one, no blaming, shaming, or justifying. Okay, number two, I need you to understand that your fear does not protect you, right? Because we're in here in the batter's box, and we're here and we're starting to step out, and we think, hey, I'm getting further away from the action right here, when in reality, all that happens is that you're putting yourself in a really bad position to get hit, right here maybe in the chest or in the face where you can really do some damage, or you're also just kind of getting yourself in a bad athletic position. So imagine I'm an infielder, right? I'm playing third base and there's a lot of balls hit really hard at me. Well, imagine whenever that batter is about to swing, that you rock back on your heels, right? Like, how quickly are you going to be able to move left to right? Like, not at all, right? Now imagine if that third baseman almost had like a foot in the air, really trying to back up, and now is trying to go get to the ball left or right, right? This ball is probably going to hit them in the leg and they wouldn't be able to move. And it's the same thing when you're up there at the plate, right? Like, if you're here and you start to get back on your heels and now there's a pitch coming in here at your leg, really, there's nothing you can do but just sort of close your eyes, right? But if you're in a good athletic position, if you're here with the weight kind of more on your toes and locked in, and that pitch comes inside, man, you can turn, you can be athletic. So the ironic thing is that everybody is stepping out thinking that they're in a better position to not get hurt, and they're actually increasing the likelihood that they're going to get hit and not going to be able to avoid it. So remember, your fear does not protect you. And the third thing that can help is actually just using a progression, right? And so if you had somebody who was afraid of heights, what you don't do is just send them to the Empire State Building and have them look down the side of it, right? What you do is you put out a ladder and you have them climb up 2 steps, all right? And the next day, maybe it's a 3rd step. Kind of an exposure therapy is what it's called. And so for hitters, what we don't need you to get in there and be this aggressive hitter taking all these great hacks. Because what's happening is kids get in there and they're locked in, and then they start to step out and then they don't swing at all. So instead of trying to get out there and be this best hitter on day one, what we need is just say, hey, go ahead, be in the box, but I need your feet still. You don't have to swing the bat. If you want to take, I'm totally fine with that. But on these takes, I need you to have your weight on the balanced on your feet and no stepping back, right? No air gets under those feet. And that's something that's been really helpful for a lot of my hitters because that stepping out can almost become involuntary, right? Like, they're trying not to, but there's so much going on that their body just sort of forgets and steps out. But when you make the one goal to keep your feet still, that's the only job. You're not trying to hit, right? You're just keeping your feet still. They're able to accomplish that. All right, and the next thing might be my favorite technique of all, and that is when you're in the on-deck circle and when you're up there at the plate, to remember to smile and take a deep breath, right? The power of a deep breath is just unbelievable. It's one of the closest things to magic that we have access to, right? So what you want to do is you want to even say this in your mind, right? Breathe in the confidence, breathe out the fear, right? Again, say it out in your head. Breathe in the confidence, breathe out the fear. and then smile, right? Like there's actually a trigger in your brain. We won't even get into the chemistry here, but it actually changes how your brain signals the rest of the body. Because all the swing is really just a movement that you've been working on all week. It's just a movement. And the goal up at the plate is just to repeat that movement as well as you can. And you can't do that with tight muscles, right? But whenever you're smiling and having fun and enjoying yourself, and you're breathing in the confidence and breathing out the fear, your body actually relaxes, and firing off that movement, repeating that movement that you have down, right, that you've been working on, is going to be much easier. So huge one right here. Breathe in the confidence, breathe out the fear. All right, and the next thing that we need to do is we need to replace those thoughts, right? Because there's a 95% chance that the hitter's not gonna be hit by the pitch. And everybody knows this, but the hitter is just absolutely consumed with that 5% chance that they might actually get hit. So this guy's throwing hard, oh my gosh, this is gonna hurt so bad, I hope I don't get hit. And there's a saying that the man rowing the boat does not have time to rock it. So we need to make sure that we are having our brain repeat what we want it to say and not just let it default over into that fear, okay? And so instead of, again, listening to those words of I'm afraid, I'm scared, you can say, I am excited, I am ready, right? There's nobody more confident than me. I am the most confident hitter out here on this field, all right? My feet are still, my base is strong. And so let me tell you a quick little story about Laney Batlady. Laney was an Olympic rifleman back in the 70s, and he was telling me a story about how he had trained for the World Championship. And he's training in Arizona, which is very hot and dry, and the World Championships were in Switzerland, okay? So he flies over there, and guess what? The weather in Switzerland, very different than Arizona. Got snow coming down like crazy. And so he's out there on the range, you know, during the competition, and he's like, I just literally cannot even see the target, let alone the bullseye, right? Like, I just can't. And so he's kind of waiting, assuming that, you know, things are going to be delayed. And then suddenly he hears the Swiss shooters shooting their shots. And he's like, wait, there's no way. How can they even see? And so he looks back through his scope, and he sees in between the snowflakes, right? Like ever so briefly, you can see the bullseye. And so he's like, wow, because there's a time element involved, he's like, I'm gonna have to shoot, okay? So what does he say to himself? Does he say, oh no, I'm not a good shooter in the snow, I've never done this before? What he said to himself in that moment was that I am the best shooter in the snow in the world. Nobody shoots better in the snow than I do, right? I am the world's best shooter. And guess what happened? Laney won the event. And I can't express to you enough how magical and powerful your words are when you put them to good use, right? So be sure you're talking good things to yourself, right? I'm excited, this is fun. Nobody's more confident than me, right? Like my body is still, my base is strong. Whatever mantra, whatever keyword, whatever incantation works for you, just say it on repeat because it's gonna change your body. It's literally gonna do that. And as a side effect, it's gonna crowd out those negative thoughts. Now, one note on that is oftentimes when you change your words, you're kind of gonna not tend to believe it, right? Like if you're gonna say this is exciting, but you're not, you're scared, right?
I'm so excited! I'm so scared!
So in those types of situations, instead of saying, okay, that's all bogus, I'm actually scared, just say, I used to be scared of the baseball, but now I'm confident, right? So you can acknowledge how you've been in the past, but also kind of prime your body for how you want to behave in the future. In the past, yes, I was afraid, but now I'm so confident, right? And just stick with it, because the more that you scratch out those negative thoughts, it's kind of like a CD, right? You scratch it once and it skips a little bit, then you scratch it a few more times, well, eventually that song doesn't play anymore, right? So stay with those positive words. This is so important. If there's one thing I can leave you with here, is that you just must not come to any conclusions about who you are or who you're not as a player based on being afraid of the pitch, right? Because we are going to get through this, right? Through these techniques, through a little bit of time, all it takes is a little bit of courage, right? Confidence is one thing, right? We don't need confidence. Confidence is like feeling like it's gonna work. Courage is like when you don't know it's gonna work, and yet you do it anyway. And you have so much more courage inside of you than you give yourself credit. I promise you on that, okay? So we're gonna get by this. And nothing but love to you. I know it's not fun to go through it, but man, you're gonna be so much better off by overcoming this than the players who just never had to overcome it together, all right? So anyway, if you have any questions at all, holler at me. And anyway, look forward to talking to you soon.